New South Wales, Victorian and Tasmanian viewers, now's the time to switch to 9Go if you want to continue watching the tennis and cheering on Tanasi Kokonakis.
Tonight, a truck chase and shootout on the Cumberland Highway. Police take down a fugitive at Smithfield. Smiles and selfies, Novak Djokovic making his way home via Dubai, leaving a whirlwind of blame in his wake. Video of a little girl lost, and tonight, the new clue witnesses have given police. Australia ready to help Tonga as a picture slowly forms of the damage done. And a new Aussie hero on day one of the Australian Open.
This is 9 News with Charles Croucher.
Good evening. Motorists have been left shocked by a dramatic police pursuit from There are calls for Tennis Australia chief Craig Tiley to stand down in the wake of the Novak Djokovic scandal. The men's world number one was deported just hours ahead of the Australian Open.
It's the kind of reception Novak Djokovic is used to. A warm welcome for the deported world number one as he arrived in Dubai.
Okay, we got this one. Let's go.
Fresh off the red-eye from Melbourne, his next destination, Belgrade. The Serbian was taken to Tullamarine last night, shortly after the federal court ruled he should be booted.
The amended application be dismissed with costs.
Flanked by police, he was marched through the terminal. On board, though, it was a comfortable journey. The Joker and his entourage at the pointy end of the Emirates plane. Back at Melbourne Park, the defending champion still looms large over the Australian Open. Pressure now mounting on the man who fought to bring him here. Tennis Australia boss Craig Tiley facing calls to resign.
Do you think that Craig Tiley should stand down?
That is entirely a matter for the TA board.
I hated the exemption that he had because I think that exemption is really for people that wish to get vaccinated and they can't get vaccinated because they've contracted COVID. Novak never wanted to get vaccinated.
The tournament director pulled out of media appearances yesterday and he was a no-show this morning at the AO opening ceremony. Two independent medical panels set up by Tennis Australia and the Victorian government initially granted Djokovic the exemption, but what wasn't known at the time is that the Federal Health Minister had warned TA of potential problems back in November. The letter to Craig Tiley explicitly stated unvaccinated people who had recently contracted COVID-19 weren't eligible for quarantine-free travel.
I think a lot of responsibility sits with the Tennis Australia board. I would hate to see Craig Tiley have it all lumped on his shoulders.
I just don't understand why Tennis Australia didn't get in a room with the federal government and the state government and sort this out. I just don't understand why that conversation didn't happen.
Djokovic made the trip to Melbourne after reassurance from TA. Good friend and fellow tennis star Vasek Pospisil tweeting, Novak would never have gone to Australia if he had not been given an exemption to enter the country by the government. Tennis Australia ignored requests for comment today.
Unfortunately, all parties involved, there's been no winners.
Reid Butler, 9 News.
And the Prime Minister has accused Novak Djokovic of seeking to come to Australia without complying with our rules. Scott Morrison tonight defending his minister's decision to have the world number one deported, but the door to Australia isn't completely shut for the 9-time Australian Open winner.
After 11 days, it's game, set, match to the federal government.
It doesn't matter if you're the number one tennis player in the world or you're Betty from Utah, the same rules apply.
On day one of the Australian Open, ministers rallied to defend the decision to send Novak Djokovic packing.
These are very important matters of border protection.
I think many Australians are happy that it's all over.
A game of high fast that was publicly started when the tennis star posted to Instagram he was on his way to Australia and had an exemption.
How did he get an exemption to come into Australia, and have we seen his vaccination passport?
Well, that is a matter for the Victorian government.
But international borders are a federal responsibility. Hours later, the Prime Minister changed his tune.
Any individual seeking to enter Australia must comply with our border requirements.
Border Force ruled Mr Djokovic didn't.
This is about someone who sought to come to Australia and not comply with the entry rules at our border.
The government put the tennis star into detention and lost its first court clash to have him deported. So Immigration Minister Alex Hawke used a very broad power given to him in law to cancel the visa. The decision upheld by 3 federal court judges. The coalition's political opponents now questioning why Novak Djokovic was granted a visa in the first place.
They should have cancelled his visa back on the 18th of November.
The government argues Border Force checks documents including medical exemptions on arrival.
Just because you have a valid visa does not guarantee you will be able to enter Australia.
The Immigration Minister's decision to cancel Novak Djokovic's visa means there's an automatic 3-year ban on Mr Djokovic being able to return to Australia, but that can be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, meaning the world number 1 could be welcomed back for next year's Australian Open.
There is the opportunity for them to return in the right circumstances, and that would be considered at the time.
Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
And our Europe correspondent Karianne Greenbank is in Belgrade tonight. Kari, Novak is on his way to Serbia. When will he arrive?
Well, Charles, Novak Djokovic is set to touch down here in Serbia at around midday local time, and this will be a welcome development for Belgrade residents who had been hoping he might return here to his hometown. Overnight, a number of high-rises were lit up with messages of support for their tennis hero. One reading, "You are the pride of Serbia," another saying, "Come home." Serbia's president has also said Novak Djokovic will receive a warm welcome at the same time as blasting the Australian government, accusing it of tormenting and torturing Novak Djokovic, claiming the deportation was a witch hunt.
It's not Novak that is humiliated. I think Australian authorities humiliated themselves with this kind of procedures pursuing against Novak Djokovic, 10 days of torturing him.
Novak Djokovic's parents have said they are disappointed by the court decision and will now rally around their son when he returns here to help him regain his faith in the sport. Charles?
Karianne Greenbank live in Serbia for us. Thank you.